please, Bilal, try to find the solution before our first guest will join us. Alors, شكون اللي يقدر يشارك في الهوست برايز program وش what you will gain من هذا الهوست برايز ويتشارك في الهوست برايز. Donc, any student who is enrolled in bachelor ولا master ولا PhD l'essentiel تكون étudiant. Par exemple, اللي عندهم هاد العام لا soutenance ما يقدروش يشاركوا باسكو avant janvier il faut يكونوا après janvier يكونوا مازال ما سوتنوش. وحنايا واحد en cinquième année maximum يسوتني ديسمبر. Donc ما يتعبش étudiant mais إذا you are PhD student تقدر تشارك normal. Donc هادو for criteria هذه هي le seul critère. C'est le seul critère c'est d'être étudiant. What you will gain say free trainings. راح تلقى حدو trainings و workshops اللي يكونوا من دي experts هنا في ليكول تاعنا ولا إذا كنت من université واحدة أخرى راح تدير هادوك لي فورماسيون في اليونيفرسيتي تاعك. هادوك لي experts سي دي experts professionnels اللي عندهم دي واحد يكون nutritionniste professionnel ولا واحد عنده une expérience في l'entrepreneuriat ولا عنده entreprise. مام ليدي تاعك تكون اون ايدي تقدر تجسدها مام تحبس في الريجيون ما تروحش للريجيونال مي كاين بزاف في الفاينل اذا جا واحد كاين لي زانكيباتور بزاف لاجيري يجي في الفينال وتعجبه ليدي تاعك مام ما تديش ما تروحش للريجيونال مي ليدي تاعك توجور زعما يحس بلي يقدر he will invest in it يستثمر في هاد ليدي تاعك. you will expand your networking راح تتعرف على ناس راح يجوك دي opportunity واحد اخرين منها هوست برايز. باغ اكزومبل تكون في لاطاج هوست برايز تتلاقى من واحد من NUS ولا واحد من autre programme. Donc you will expand your networking ou bien sûr يكونوا des étudiants talents comme vous ou des experts. Il y a la possibilité to win $1 million إذا وصلت الفينال. وقلت لكم نعاود نقولها لكم مام ما توصلش للريجيونال ولا فينال توجور عندك لابورتونيتي باش ديجا غير دير ليتود تاع الليدي تاعك مام بالك وحدك إذا لقيتو شكون لي فينانسيك تقدر وحدك تحل البروجي تاعك. و على ان شاء الله there is a certificate signed by Bill Clinton وأحمد أشقر. أحمد أشقر هو الفاوندر تاع هوست برايز وبيل كلينتون تاع اليونايتد نيشنز هو البريزيدون number 42 في اليو اس اي. دونك سيتي هذه لا بريزونطاسيون what is host prize, what you will gain. And now our first guest, le docteur Mahmoud Mohandis, has just joined us. مرحبا بك دكتور. دكتور محمود. Are you here, Dr. Mahmoud?
الو كنت تسمعوا فيا؟
دكتور محمود.
الو حنان كتسمعي فيا؟
وي عبد الغني.
حنان سيل بلي لو طون اللي يجي دكتور محمود بغيت نسقسيك على واحد لا كيسيون سقساوني عليها بزاف. لي كاتريام اني اس كيل بو اكسيدي هاد لا كومبيتيسيون؟ كاتريام اني طلعوا للسانكيام راهم طالعين للسانكيام.
وي بيان سور.
Très bien, يعطيك الصحة.
De rien. Alors, tout d'abord, il faut تعرفوا شكون هو دكتور محمود المهندس. C'est un docteur donc هو clinical professor and director of destroying medical
Hanan.
application institute. Oui.
Please, monsieur هذاك دكتور المهندس il est là.
Yes, yes, he is here.
Oh, we can't hear it.
Are you here, Dr. Mahmoud? Yes, I see. Please, if you are hearing me. Alors c'est un professeur et directeur d'un institut في Washington, USA. He will be talking about how the food we eat can activate or deactivate different genres that can either keep us in good health or bring about disease and malfunction. Donc, if you are here, please tell me, Doctor. Mais هو اللي يأكتيفي الميكرو تاعه ميكروفون. أذكرك هنا دكتور محمود. Please activate your mic.
Hello guys. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yes. You can see me, you can hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hello everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. So today's topic is very interesting. I'm gonna be talking about nutrigenomics. I'm gonna be talking mainly in English, but I will be happy to translate some of the difficult concepts in Arabic as needed. So just let me know if there is a concept that you're not quite able to grasp. Let me know and I will be able to I should be able to explain it to you in Arabic. So now we do understand that food is not just something we eat to satisfy our hunger or to give us the energy we need. The food we eat is in reality, it contains a lot of information. It's like, we call it signaling in medicine. I'm gonna try to explain things in a simple language so that everybody can relate to it. I know not everybody has a medical background. But anyhow, what I'm trying to, the new information we have indicates that food is just more than something we eat to satisfy our hunger and give us the energy we need to be able to function. The food we eat has a lot of information that communicate with our genes. And oftentimes when we eat the right food for our genes, that activates the good genes, which means that the genes we have, they code for a function. And based on the food we ate, that function could be either good for us or bad for us. Are you following me so far? Are you able to hear me well and follow what I'm saying? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So now there is a new field of science within, the medical sciences themselves, one of which is called nutrigenomics. But there is also another field that's called nutrigenomics and a third field that's called epigenetics. Today's topic is very much about nutrigenomics, which it's not about nutrigenetics, it's nutrigenomics, which basically means that how, the food we eat communicate with our genes. Okay? And that is a mind, it's an eye-opener and mind-boggling concept, because for so many years we thought about food as just something we eat to fill up the tank. It's like your car is out of gas, so you stop by a gas station and you fill up some gas, regardless of the quality or the type of the gas or the food we eat. Now we are understanding to a great extent that any food we eat, it can either be a source for a good health or a source for disease. Okay? And that basically depends on many factors, not only one factor. The first factor I'm going to emphasize today is our genetic composition, because our genome, it varies from region to region, and based on what our ancestries what our ancestors ate, basically what was available to them in their environment, and therefore they ate it, and therefore it caused this genetic variation from one person to another. So our genome is really important. What kind of genes we have is really important in determining whether something would be good for us or bad for us. I'm going to give you a very simple example. Coffee. Many of us drink coffee in the morning. I'm not one of them, because I know when I drink coffee, I do not react well to it. So therefore, I replace it with green tea, for instance. So some people drink coffee, and after they drink coffee, they feel, they feel great. They feel great. Their mental acuity improves, and they have more energy to do things. And the coffee they drink can also help them avert or avoid some chronic diseases like cardiovascular diseases and some inflammatory diseases like Alzheimer's disease. But other people, when they drink the same coffee, the effect is very different. They feel very bad. It has a very bad effect on them, and it also affects, it increases their, the way, it alters the way they metabolize their cholesterol, so it increases their cholesterol, and it can lead to a lot of problems on the long run, like heart diseases and other chronic conditions. What makes one person drink coffee and feel good, and the other person drink the same coffee and feel miserable, depends whether that person has the fast metabolizer gene or the slow metabolizer gene. Those have the fast metabolizer gene, coffee is great for them. Coffee is really good, okay? And we know that coffee would help give them good health and good mental clarity. those who have the slow metabolizer gene would drink the same coffee and end up with a lot of problems. And how do we know that? We know that based on something called genetic testing. So now this is becoming a standard practice in medicine these days, that before I prescribe a medication for a person or prescribe a diet, I really need to understand their genetic composition, what kind of genes they have, okay? And based on that, I would know how would they respond to the medication I'm giving them or the food they are eating. That is the field of nutrigenomics. We have lab testing, that needs to be prescribed. We refer to them to certain labs to get the genetic test needed. But there are other innovative companies out there these days that people can actually ask, or they can buy a test themselves without a prescription from a physician or a doctor. One of these companies is 23andMe. My daughter, she's in college. She's your age. She is in her last year in college this year, and she just got tested. She got her tested genes. What she basically did, she bought a test, and she gave them a sample of her saliva. She sent it to them, and she paid the fees. There is a fee for this, of course. And then she got the test results for both her ancestry, where is she originally from. Okay, her genes indicate what regions she really came from in the world, and that is important, because based on the region you grew up in, that food in that region is probably better for you. And also the test indicated whether she's a carrier for certain genes like diabetes mellitus or Alzheimer's gene or Parkinson's gene. So there are some companies out there that are doing that, and I think for those who are really interested in future investment, that's something to look at, because this will become within the next 5-10 years. It's going to become a standard practice in all healthcare. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that what might be a super someone, like a very good food for someone, might be a poison for another person, depending on what? Depending on their genome or their gene composition, the genes they have. This is number one. Also, it depends on other factors like their phenotype. The phenotype is what, the set of characteristics that what makes you. Because the genes interact with our environment, and based on that interaction, that gives you, the unique set of characteristics that define you, to which group of people you belong. Brown eyes or green eyes or blue eyes, blonde hair, brown hair, white skin, dark skin. That's your phenotype. That is the phenotype. And the third component is the environmental context itself. So these three factors are extremely important to understand if you want to make food, your medicine. Because as I said, food can be either medicine, it can shield your health, it can protect you from diseases, even though if you have certain genes that predispose you to certain diseases. Okay, it's not a sentence. It's not a sentence that for sure will end up having this disease if you are a carrier of the genes that code for this disease. I'll give you an example. For instance, if you have the gene for diabetes mellitus, but you eat the right food for you, you stay away from the bad food, and you follow the lifestyle that helps you avoid expressing that gene, you will not end up having diabetes. You will live a healthy life. Depending on what? Depending on the type of food you eat and the lifestyle you follow. Whether you exercise or not, whether you get enough sleep or not, whether you are able to manage your stress, how much stress you have in your life, and whether you are able to manage it well or not. So the other example is that I had, there has been, I see geriatric patients, people who are elderly with, different types of diseases, different types of problems, and one of my patients had Alzheimer's disease, and her daughter was really worried about having the same gene. So she asked me whether, I will end up having Alzheimer's like my mom or not. So the way to know is through testing. There is a gene, the EPO, the EPO-E4 gene. We needed to test for it, see if she is a carrier for this gene or not. And when she tested, she was not a carrier for that gene. However, so the gene was not there, but she was still at a high risk for Alzheimer's because her biomarkers, the C-reactive protein and ferritin, all these inflammatory indicators were very high when we tested for them. So the question was, why, even though she did not have the Alzheimer's gene, why was she at a high risk for Alzheimer's? We needed to look into her lifestyle. And when we looked into her lifestyle, we found out that she was not eating the right food for her. She was eating a lot of processed food, food that is full of trans fats and sugar, which in turn elevated her blood glucose level, and her A1C, the hemoglobin A1C marker, was very high, and therefore that put her at higher risk for Alzheimer's. And how could that be reversed? Could the risk be reversed? Absolutely. If you change your if you change your diet and you change your lifestyle, you can definitely decrease, or even in many circumstances eliminate that risk. So for her, it was obvious that she needed to eat more natural food, more, and stay away from processed food, stay away from processed sugar, refined sugar, and instead eat more vegetables, more fruits, more wild meats, like wild salmon and grass-fed meat. And she also needed to be a little bit more active. She needed to pay attention to her sleep pattern, and she needed to take some time to decompress and to manage her stress. When she did all these things, her A1C tremendously went down, and therefore her risk for Alzheimer's tremendously went down. So in a nutshell, to summarize what I just said, if you really want to understand what food is good for you in general, you need to pay attention to three things. The first thing, if you can get an idea about what kind of genes you have. If you don't have this ability, then you need to understand, where did your ancestries come from? where did they come from? What did your grandmother or grandfather eat? Because that's probably closer to your genetic composition. Whatever they ate in the past is good for you. So this is number one, understanding your genetic composition and your genetic heritage. Number two, understanding, trying to eliminate the effect of a bad environment on you, because we also interact with the environment we live in. If the environment we live in has a lot of toxins, like a lot of pollution, polluted air, polluted water, a lot of pesticides, things like that, that will have a negative impact on us. So as much as possible, if you cannot control the outside environment, try to take the time to go for walks in nature or go to the beach if you can. Many people started having air purifier in their homes. That is like a filter, an air filter to filter out all the bad stuff in the air. Also, the food we eat, we need to make sure that it's either cooked well, and if we eat it raw, like vegetables, of course, organic vegetables and organic fruits are better. If not, then we need to wash them very well before we eat them to avoid the negative effect of the pesticides. And the third component is the social context. How we eat food is also really important. There is a new field, it's called social genomics, the effect of the social context on our genes. So for instance, in all religions, it is a tradition before we eat the food, we thank God. We take a few minutes to say, thank you, God, for providing me with this food. I really appreciate having this food. And people used to eat families used to eat together, and have a little conversation during the course of the meal. This environment is very conducive to digesting the food well and to benefiting better from the food, versus eating on the run. Somebody driving and eating a sandwich, that is not a good environment to eat your food. Why? Because that can break a habit, that can have a negative impact on our immune system. Okay, three things can actually cause us to react negatively to the environment. One of them is social isolation, but also social rejection and social conflict is not good for our health and immune system. So if you can imagine somebody eating while driving, eating a sandwich while driving, that's not good because they are socially isolated, and there is a danger, there is a possibility that they might get into an accident. So their immune system is on hyper alert, and therefore there is an underlying inflammation going on that prevents them from absorbing the food well and assimilating the food well into their body. I would also like to take a couple of minutes to talk about something that is really important, which is, we live in a time of a pandemic, and the pandemic that's Corona 2, the Corona pandemic still ongoing. It has pretty much the same footprint as the Spanish flu, which took a little over 2 years before it went away. So we might be living in this pandemic for at least another year or so, and it's really important to understand how do we help our immune system to be strong enough to protect us without overreacting. Okay? Because when the immune system overreacts, it causes something called cytokine storm, and that cytokine storm can cause, disease and death at the same time. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about what kind of food we really need to pay attention to or to include in our meals to bolster our immune system or to support our immune system and to prevent this possible overreaction from happening. The first, the first element to me that is clearly important to have, especially for elderly, for old people, is zinc. Zinc is very, very important for the function of the immune system, both the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system we have inherited from our parents, and the adaptive immune system we have developed over the course of our life. And there has been a recent study that showed that even people after they got infected with coronavirus and they were hospitalized for care, in addition to the medications they were taking, because medications is not, it's